Okay. Great. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Welcome to the County Commission meeting of February 6th. If you'd please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good morning, everyone. Is there any public comment here? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to commission comments. So, Commissioner McKinley.
All right. Well, Friday I was hooked up with the final plans and specs for the North Carolina County Ambulance Station. Spent a lot of time this weekend going over all that. It's been a long time since I read through a full spec. I only had to look at a section to read, but I did get through the whole thing. And plans, I guess, didn't say when the date is. It should be made public pretty soon, and the bids come in first part of March, which people March. So that's moving right along. Other than that, Saturday I did go to the basketball game. The most disappointing loss of the season is about all I can say. Not much more to add to that.
Yeah. Thursday afternoon, I attended the meeting of the crisis intervention team over at the Pawnee Mental Health meeting room over there at the Houston Street Ballroom. Among the items of discussion, we're setting the date for this year's CIT training, which will take place June 19th through 23rd at the conference room there at Riley County Public Works Building, same place it was last year. State CIT will be in attendance and provide some resources and other items to make the training go well. And I've just talked about bits and pieces of what that training is going to look like when it comes. And we also discussed the idea of actually turning this CIT team into maybe more of a regional type of group, a Flint Hills group. Right now, it's just kind of the Manhattan, Riley County, Potawatomi County area, but talking about bringing some entities from the Geary County side over there and make it into one group. So there'll be more to come on that, more discussion, more to come on that down the road. Thursday evening, attended the 74th annual meeting of the Riley County Conservation District over at Potroff Hall. Had a wonderful dinner that was served, and then followed by the election of two new supervisors, but technically they were just elected. So however you want to call that, but went through that process. Heard a presentation from Dr. Walter Fick from the Department of Agronomy at K-State, titled Old World Blue Stem. Obviously it's different types of blue stem are native to the area, so I kind of pointed those out and pointed out ways that you could get rid of those grasses if you want to, and different ways and different styles of being able to do that, both if you have a farm or a ranch, or just in general. So kind of interesting. Wouldn't think maybe a presentation on grass would be interesting, but it actually was. And afterwards, two conservation awards were presented. The Kansas Bankers Association Soil Conservation Award went out to the Safe Farm. You all know the Safe Farm. They're doing some retention and other work out there as part of their efforts. So they won an award for that. And then the Riley County Conservation District Award, yearly annual award, went out to the Shep Ranch. And I don't know too much about them, but they're doing some work of their own out there in terms of conservation of water and other things. So congratulations to both of them and for their hard work and efforts that got them those awards. And then we ended the evening with a prize raffle and struck out again. So 0-for-2 last week on that one. It was good. It was actually good. It was fun to be back in person for this particular event. I think it's the first one they had since the beginning of 2020 before the chaos occurred. So good to see all that. Friday afternoon, because I was at that event Thursday night, I didn't get a chance to go over to do the town hall over there that for RCPD over in Ogden, but they did have a Facebook Live. So I did go back and went through the event. Thought it went very well, actually. Just kind of given some dynamics and things. So about an hour or so long, some pretty good questions. Keep in mind, there's several more of those occurring throughout Raleigh County in the coming weeks and days with new director Brian Pete. So if you didn't get a chance, like I didn't, to check that out, I think there's one in Riley, going to be one in Leonardville, and they're working on finding a place for one in Randolph too. They did. Okay. At least as the other day, they were talking about having to change venues or something there. I don't know. So anyway, maybe it all worked out. I don't know. And I guess lastly, I watched that game on Saturday too. I have to say, yeah, that was probably the toughest loss of the season. I was kind of hoping, if anything, we'd get a undefeated season at home finally. Yeah. It's never happened at Bramlett. Yeah, so I don't know what happened in the second half there. It was just ugly. So hopefully they get the losing out of their system and go back to winning, maybe starting tomorrow night with TCU. Keep our fingers crossed. So that's all I got.
Okay, well, Thursday I spent some time in the office returning calls and emails and reviewing various documents on the Keats project. That evening I attended a standing, mostly community meeting at my church, so I couldn't make it to the conservation banquet. Friday, crazy day. I spent the day traveling to Overland Park for an appointment with a retinologist for a recheck of my eyes. Because of the dilation, which I hadn't anticipated, I had to wait for several hours in Kansas City before I could drive home, and it was pretty sketchy. They must have really dilated it, both eyes. I hadn't anticipated spending the day there, so I was behind on some calls. On the way there, I had caught up on some phone calls while I was traveling, but didn't want to on the way back. So. Saturday, worked out at the gym, got some work done around the house, and I went to watch the K-State basketball game. I took the dog out for a walk at halftime thinking, oh, we're doing pretty good. And I came back in and went, oh, no. But
we're taking the dog for a walk.
Maybe that
Greg's going to start wearing a different shirt.
Okay. We all got to do our part here.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, that's about it. So. For me.
Ready for business?
Yes, ready for business.
Only item we have, commissioners, is Cons United Way campaign proclamation.
Okay. So they'll be in during the press conference? Or
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So do we need to sign this? We need a motion to sign it? Okay.
Please.
I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve the proclamation for Cons Ways United Ways 2023 Riley County campaign.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's been moved and seconded to approve the proclamation for Cons Way United Way 2023 Raleigh County campaign. All in favor?
Aye.
All three signed. Commissioners have any changes to the minutes?
Go make a motion to approve the minutes as written from the February 2nd, 2023 meeting of the Raleigh County Commission.
I'll second.
All in favor of approving the minutes from the February 2nd meeting? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, the tentative.
A little slow today, I'm sorry.
Fine, it's a Monday.
Yeah.
The tentative agendas look okay, commissioners?
Yeah, I will probably be, or I'm going to try to zoom in on Monday. Of course, I'll be in Washington, D.C.
You're going to DC.
Yeah.
That's what it's doing.
Okay.
Are you going to be out Monday and Thursday?
No, I'll be coming back next Wednesday night late. I'll be driving that Thursday, but we'll be okay. My flight gets in at like 11:30.
Any items for next week's press conference, commissioners? Thanks, commissioners. You have Mr. Morgan up at 9 o'clock. You have a little bit of a break.
Good time.
Confirmation.
Excuse me.
Give that.
That's fine.
Okay.
So,
All right.
because this is the motion I grabbed. Same kind of thing, because it's really in the alternative, 1 or 2. Oh, okay. It's just not the number they usually sell. Oh. I'm explaining.
Plans you anticipating the whole time for the executive?
Yeah, what have we got for it? We got 15 or 20?
20. We'll go
Yeah.
15?
Yeah, let's go 20.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Thank you.
Come out, come back.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you. Perfect timing. Steam heat's a little hot today.
It's warm in here, very warm in here.
You must be about right, Catherine.
Yeah, with a fan on this week. I didn't put a sweater on today. So.
I thought the Texas game was a real opportunity to make a statement, and
But you know,
lose
so-
by much. Either team could have won it, but still, and what just a few points makes all the difference in the world, and the attitude and the rankings and going forward. Momentum.
Wow, we game today.
Yeah, it is.
It's overheating too.
The heat.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's why that fan goes. Those bulbs are extremely hot, and
Yeah.
it'll overheat that whole unit. That bulb will, so that's when those fans kick on. The temperature in here, of course, and it's even hotter up there in the highest
Sure, right.
part of the room, as you know. Yes. Thanks, just want to be sure, thank you. So John, how long before your company's integrating their switching their shifts?
They're still working out some details on it.
So they didn't give you a date on when they were
Well,
switching.
they're gonna do that starting next Monday.
Gotcha.
They're eliminating all of the third shift. And then rolling those people in on their first or second. That's how it's gonna work.
That's another thing I was gonna ask you. Yeah, how many hours a day does your plant run?
Yeah, it runs pretty much 24.
Does it?
Yeah,
So it was 3/8 before.
correct.
Gotcha. That's how a lot of them do it.
Not every department per se, but
So now they're gonna go to 2/10s.
yeah.
Gotcha. That might be a little bit, might help the custodial part out a little bit, the maintenance part out a little bit, possibly giving them some hours when people aren't.
Yeah, two shipping and receiving departments, one that ships products out, it comes in and out, and then we have one that gets all of our other stuff in and out. They're probably gonna stay 5/8. They actually gives them an extra day to kind of clean up, move stuff around, and not have to deliver stuff to departments and
When people are in the way.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's probably going to stay, but everybody else, including up front, I think, is moving to that.
So how do you work your schedule around?
I've got to figure this one out again.
But they're very accommodating for you.
Yeah, I think it'll probably work. There's just going to be those Tuesday and Wednesday afternoon meetings I have. I'm just going to have to leave early, and they're going to actually let me come in on Fridays if I want to. I go in and work from 5 to 8 or 10 or something in the morning, and then I got the rest of Friday off. So that actually might work out pretty well. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the approach I'd take. Nice and early and have the rest of the day. That's what I prefer to do.
That's what I've been doing since about mid-October, is going in at 5 and getting off at 1:30, doing 8 that way. And then I have the rest of the afternoon, and it's worked out very, very well. So
Pretty quiet in the morning.
it is. Yeah, it is.
When my one daughter at the nurse surgical center, she starts at 6 or 6:30 and she's off by 2 every day. I love those 2 or 3. I love those
And we
hours.
still got time, like I said, I got time to meet with people still. And
I just love those hours.
some of my weekday afternoon board meetings are, usually at 3:30, and it's worked out well. But
And my other daughter, the BSRN, is starting there this week.
good deal.
Yeah.
Got everybody working now, huh?
All kids gainfully employed.
Good. Helps your budget, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Everybody's out.
We're running a pretty tight ship, so they've been on their own for a while. It makes you feel good knowing that they're doing well.
Good, well, yeah. It's good when you know your kids are okay. Not coming on. For food.
Oh, they are. They still do. That's what we did this weekend as a family, and we had all the kids and their significant others there. Saturday, we processed 2 hogs, 550 pounds of pork.
Wow. It's a number for some bacon.
It's in the fridge.
There you go.
Well, 2 hogs, so there's 8 slabs of 12 to 13 pounds each slab of bacon curing right now in the fridge.
Sounds like good.
Made 115 pounds of sausage and chorizo and pork chops and ribs and roasts.
It's a lot of work too, to do all that.
Yeah, it wasn't that work.
Family used to do that.
It's so good. Know what you got. Save a lot of money doing it that way.
Isn't so bad to buy in the stores.
One of my one daughter, she lives in Oklahoma. She said her boss is looking at that because he comes from farm and stuff, looking at getting a whole hog processed, and it was $900. And I got both of mine for almost half of that, alive.
If I had space to put it, I would do probably the same thing. But I tell you what, paint, holy cow.
Everything.
I went to buy just a simple quarter white semi-gloss, touch up I'm just touching up some trim on the door, the open door. It was $22.
Lady in my office just this morning, because as you know, Commissioner Ball talked about cost of living over last year, raises for the employees, but she said she went to get groceries this weekend. She's for her husband, and they don't eat fancy. And she said she don't think she bought any meat, but she went to all these wellness stores, spent $300.
Oh, goodness.
And didn't get all that much. And she was just like, unreal.
Yeah, I hung out at Whole Foods in Kansas City. And I thought they'd be really expensive, but I was able to buy a whole bunch of vegetables, and it was actually not any more expensive.
Vegetables are actually
Whole
Whole paycheck.
just about, yeah.
Whole Foods.
Yeah, it used to be really high, but there were a lot of things I didn't want, but they had some good vegetables. So I stocked up on that. So, but that wasn't, I looked at the end price and went, wow, I thought this would double.
So I've got 2 freezers full of meat this week. Deer and the half of beef I had. Well, the half of beef I got was small. Neighbor farmer, she got a farm from land.
About time to do another batch of beef or deer jerky sometime. Won't be this weekend, of course, but sometime here.
Yeah, I'll be smoking that bacon later this week.
Mm.
It cures about 5 days.
Kids really want half split with what? What's really done?
Yeah.
Scram.
Yeah.
Different parts of the family, we split them up.
It's hard to find someone.
My kids have started doing that because my son's in-laws.
Uh-huh.
And so I got out of the daughters back here, they're
Yeah.
split with them. We said, we don't need, we don't need enough to pay.
Right.
Yeah.
For us, it doesn't.
And we do still because, 3 of our 4 kids all live here in town and they still come out regularly on weekends and eat and stuff, And like I say, I was accused when they sneak down the fridge. Said, this isn't Walmart, carry that bag.
You carry it out.
Oh, new pizza place open.
Yeah, I saw that. I went to eat at Aaron's place on
Oh.
Saturday and saw the sign there, big poppies
Big Papa's.
Papa's words.
And where Gambino's was.
in Riley.
Oh, okay.
Gambino, she sold these. That 2 different people looked at it. One keep this Gambino, this one they could buy. It took forever. I don't think you repeat it. They advertised it pretty well. Oh, it's first night. Let's go down to 5. The line was back to the door.
Really?
Good.
Hour and a half. Because we went home and then came back to pick that up.
Uh-huh.
But it was packed full of people.
That's good.
And it was really good. It's their own recipe.
So it's a lot
sauce.
different?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're curious because we want to try it.
Somehow I got the indication they do it brick or no. Okay.
It was got the same oven that Gambino's had, but
They remodel it all.
yeah.
Did they?
Clean, updated.
That's
The arrangement's still basically the same, but new flooring, new lighting. lighting is still the same as I put in 15 years ago.
What someone was saying is how many food places are in such a small town as Riley right there.
Yeah.
You know, there's 3 of them right
Well,
there.
and then the German place next door is open.
Are they open all the time?
No, he's got one next. This Saturday, I think he's having German.
I want to
I
try
didn't even
that
know
one.
about the German
We
place.
looked into that for the legislative
I
conference.
never even heard about that.
Yeah, what's his name? What is his?
He's German, I mean, it's a German name.
It's got
Yeah.
complete.
Yeah, I know who you're talking, you Manfred. Yeah,
Yeah.
he does Oktoberfest and the German, yeah.
Saw Tim Sharp there Saturday,
Oh, yeah.
building a new house outside of town,
Yep.
retired. Did he retire yet? No,
Yeah, building the house, that's why he had to step down, he was mayor, that's why he stepped down. This is houses, he's got outside of town.
They're remodeling that restaurant too. They're changing where the entrance is gonna be and put in a big new bar.
Yeah, that's what my office was, the DPW.
Really?
My office where this is what they're saying. He knew down at the old. What's the old antique shop forever next to the post office. And then we would always fix that. You know, something in there too, that's what. I think. When you get that open, March or something, we built in. Well, no, it's not. That's when the sawmills moving around.
Oh, they are?
Oh, there.
Yeah,
Where are they going?
Timberwoods in town in Manhattan and. I'm not sure. It's right, but
I was gonna say, how the heck they get all that
Oh,
stuff
that's
they got
good.
there? I
no,
was thinking it was borderline acceptable in Riley the way.
well, when they finally bought the lot behind them and moved everything back there.
Man, they got a bunch stockpiled.
Yeah.
I got a big cherry log there. Matter of fact, I just checked my messages today that they're cutting down for me.
You can dry it too.
Yeah, they're just gonna cut it. I just let it dry outside and
That's what
it's to use in
my
the
son's
future.
got some in my bar drying. Yeah. With ash.
You had a cherry tree that's like 20 years, you know, it just finally came to the end of its life, but that cherry tree was that big around.
That's what I wish that, because we had a little cherry tree that went down a couple years ago, but it you wouldn't have been, you couldn't have got a straight board like this.
That's when I got straight stuff probably out that
really?
tall, you know, so
Oh, yeah.
it's nice. And I love cherry wood.
Oh, yeah. Ash is neat too. Green and ash.
Spot about eye level from the front.
That's great.
I'm good, Rich. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad.
The spot where they're gonna branch and cut off, you've got some like disease that started. So get bad and yeah, probably cut it down there less good because it was really easy.
Really easy.
Yeah.
Had mine for 2 years.
Do that, but
Mine for 2 years didn't produce, and so it was at the end of its life. You know, it'd get tons of buds, and then it just didn't have any energy to get to. So I cut it down before it got, you know, destroyed, and planted a new one. So my new one's about as tall as me, and I don't think I'll get enough for a pie off of it for a couple of years.
but we got one kid bought us one of those dwarf cherries that's only.
Well, this one was supposed to be a dwarf. That thing must have been 30 foot tall.
We went this short, and like I say, it gets enough for about one pie.
Yeah, I love fresh cherry pie from Sour Cherries.
Get the old one, and we get big.
That's how this was made.
Did you have anything?
No, other than to tell you that the commission list that you saw has been edited to only extend back to the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Continue to do. And there's some open spaces on there that will be filled in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, they're not. Go ahead and move that the Board of Riley County Commissioners, including Chair Koki, Vice Chair Ford, and Commissioner McKinley, along with Clancy Holman, County Councilor, and Craig Cox, Deputy County Councilor, attorneys for the commission, recess into executive session pursuant to the preliminary discussions relating to the acquisition of real property, an exception to the Kansas Open Meetings Act, to discuss a potential offer of purchase, the open meeting to resume the county commission chamber at 9:20 a.m. Rich Fargo, Riley County Clerk, will be present during a portion of the executive session to provide factual information.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to exit into executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed.
You ready?
Okay, go ahead and move then with the Board of County Commission come out of executive session.
I'll second.
So moved and seconded that the Board of County Commission come out of executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Also, make a motion, a binding action was delivered in this executive session in the form of instruction to use the county staff.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that
Consensus for binding action.
consensus was reached during our executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, it's kind of worded.
That's sort of kind of.
After that one.
Different form.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next, it's time for Darrell Eady on the budget calendar for 2024 already.
Okay. There.
Boy, good morning, Commissioner. It is right.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree. I'm on that. Can we get a second? I'm on board.
Yeah, table this for 2
I'm on
months.
board.
Can we just table it to October 1st?
Yeah.
Seriously, everybody can get the rest around here.
So I can do my job.
That's a recipe for payoff.
Wasn't any different than last year. No
Okay.
fault.
Before you guys yell at me. Darrell Eady, Budget and Finance Officer, here to present the 2024 budget calendar. Today, all we're having to worry about is just getting things started off, presenting you with the budget, so I can release it to the department heads tomorrow. So you don't have to do anything much today. So your big concerns will be starting up in May 8th, 11th, 15th, and 18th. That's we're starting to meet with agencies, outside agencies and stuff, they're in their requests and all that good type stuff. This allows me to, before that time, prepare with Elizabeth the personnel budget and send out budget information to our department heads, get them started on it so that we can present it to you. Well, I might note to you that the CPIU for December, just a number, just something to play with. The starting fact is 6.5, just for awareness. One of the beginning numbers. So that's the big thing. We also are moving up the dates to for approval from you, and also not major, but just early enough that we can get the R&R done and everything else presented to the people in the newspaper and back to the state within a much better time frame than we did last year. I've been on board for a little bit now, and so hopefully we can get that thing moving this time. So that is all you have to do today. Is you might have any questions on the dates that are on here. You can ask me now or send me emails later on. But today is strictly just to get things moving and to approve a timetable.
That's what it is.
To approve the timetable.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the internal budget calendar for fiscal year 2024.
No second.
So moved and seconded to approve the fiscal internal budget calendar for 2024 as presented. All in favor? Aye.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
Hey, Commissioners, if any dates or when we need to have work sessions don't work for you guys are going to be gone, let us know, that way we can schedule things appropriately, because we really like to have budget things presented when all three are here, because it's one of the most important things and things the board does. So let us know those dates, that way we can get them on the calendar, and Darrell can arrange outside agency presentations as well. He's going to contact them and get all of those lined up. And we will have a couple of new outside agencies I anticipate this year.
And we'll be sending those out prior to the March 20th date.
So very soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. Thank you very much.
Yeah, if you have any points, those meetings there. Your agenda.
Sorry about that. I missed a part of the language.
They usually work on the fly there, but that was good.
Press conference at 9:30, commissioners.
Oh.
Sorry, how you doing? Oh, not too bad. Good, good. How about yours?
Good.
All of them at the house this weekend.
It gets harder and harder as they get bigger, doesn't it?
It does. We're pretty lucky. We have 3 of the 4 that live here in town.
Oh,
So
nice.
that makes nice. Just one
Yeah.
that's no, so that's a little harder, but they made it back as well. So
Awesome, awesome. Was it a special reason or just everybody could come?
yeah, well, actually it was. We processed 2 hogs this week.
Oh.
All the kids wanted to do that, so I said, if you want to do it, everyone's gonna be here to help.
Ownership is everything.
That's right. You want some of it, you gotta have it. You did it yourself. Wow.
Talking about taking us last night. Thank you. Such a song.
Yeah.
I just couldn't hear it. So my memory is kind of. If I had to, I mean, this is the sort of life.
Yeah. Bankruptcy auction. Sleep off of and actually. Now he's in like Marshall County. Circle, Fairland House and Nurse Street. Dark Lakes. Spain.
Oh, yeah, I'll bet. I can't remember when my kids was on.
You know, he was, 70s and 80s.
Yeah, 2 days later. Yeah, when I was a kid, I was just I thought I was school for a minute.
Without the buildings.
I was gonna wait on that. So 5 days ago. This week was good.
Challenge. That's the hard thing.
Yeah. Well, you're sure. Maybe we may just never talking about the house. We never think like that, like, maybe it's just when stakeholders with them. And most people, I'm like, I do something, I don't go extra, I don't drive when I go down to. So she was like, you're a computer, and so people are laughing about how you just kind of find your space and sometimes they're a little jerky because you're not that, smooth. You feel like you're trying, good morning. Maybe what you got to do. Oh, so I'm checking with you.
Well, you know, we start out and stuff.
I talked to her. I wanted to have she was in the setting that I talked about. I was saying, I was in the middle, but I didn't see she was going. This is what we're doing. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, just said that, I help with that. I got your message and change the price. Oh, okay. Well, some people, well, I think I'm gonna change it after, I'm gonna change it to chairperson. Let's just leave it. I agree. John, we have to get it. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, when we have after. Yeah, sure.
So my good.
I was 15, but not like okay, and it's time for our press comments. And Captain Steer.
Happy to be here. Happy to be back at work. I had ankle surgery in October, so I've been absent for a little while. I think this is my first one and I'm back doing this. So I've been back since the first part of the year, but happy to be back at work, back doing this and stuff. I just got a couple things. Before I forget, I wanted to mention the polar plunge is on February 12th out at Tuttle Creek State Lake and the beach swimming area there. It's at noon. You can find information on our website. It's a great event that helps support Special Olympics. Corporal Pate takes the lead with that. She does a really, really good job, and we've been participating in that for a while. So I please encourage public support on that. And speaking of our website, just want to give you a heads up that in March, we're going to be rolling out a new website. So please check that out. We've had several department members that have been working on that for at least a year. We are working to, it's kind of a long process to get to undergo and kind of pick a vendor and work with them to update it. But some of the stuff that they're going to do, I think is going to be make it more functional. And, that's such a big deal now, your website, especially as we're trying to attract employees and recruiting and that sort of thing. So the website's a really big deal. So check that out in March. When it comes out. I wanted to talk just real quick about some crime stats. I don't want to bore you, but we were very happy in 2022 that we, in all of our categories, we were below the 5-year average. It was just one arson, but that's one of those ones that's fairly irregular. So not a few numbers can affect that. So I don't want to be alarmed about that, but all of the categories except that one were below the 5-year average. And in 2021, so KBI state statistics come out, but they come out later because it takes a while to get the numbers from all the agencies across Kansas. But last year actually marked the 19th straight year that we've been below the state average. And we're pretty confident based on our numbers in 2022 that we'll make 20 years. So we're really, really proud of that. It makes me proud of our agency for doing that, but just as equally, I want to recognize the community for helping us do that because we have great partnerships, get folks to give us tips and work with us to on programs like Crime Stoppers and the neighborhood stuff that we do that helps us all work together to work against crime, help make our community safer. We actually last year filed 368 less reports than we did the year before. So that's a really neat thing. That means there's 368 less victims. So that all translates to less folks being impacted by crime in our community. So we're happy about that. The only other thing I wanted to talk about, unless you have any questions about those numbers and such, is we are still doing the town hall meetings. So last week, the director and I went to Ogden. We had a good turnout. I felt there was about 50 people or so there. Asked lots of good questions, and it was a really good event. This week, we're traveling to Leonardville, I believe, on Thursday night at 6 p.m. And then there's future ones scheduled in Randolph and Riley as well. So I think that's a really good opportunity especially for the chief to get out and introduce himself around the county, but then also to just visit with folks and hear their concerns and work as best we can to address them. That's pretty much all I got.
Okay.
All right.
Good to have you back.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Greg.
I guess we can do these anyway. Okay. Well, we're going to read the United Way campaign proclamation for February. So it's not too long. Okay. Whereas Kansa United Way raises funds to support human service agencies and charitable organizations in Riley County, and whereas Kansa United Way's goal is to create long-lasting changes in the community by addressing the underlying causes of problems. And whereas for the past 79 years, Kansa United Way has provided financial support to organizations in Riley County to improve the quality of life for residents with the goal of working together to create a brighter future. And whereas in 2022, Kansa United Way invested $290,000 in local programs that provided financial stability, education, and health support. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Board of County Commissioners, do hereby appoint the month of February 2023 as United Way Month, and encourage all residents and employees to support financially through the United Way the many local community organizations that provide invaluable services for the seniors, individuals, families, and youth around the county. Thank you very much. So thank you.
But can I get a picture out of you and then
Okay, which you like to speak, say something first?
She's got some.
at 9:45.
Oh, okay, okay. I'll wait till 9:45.
Three. That's three. And then. Cover Watson. Nice, thank you.
We're all in one.
Yeah, and actually, just a little bit. Okay, one more time. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
Okay, John Ellerman.
Good morning, John Elderman, Public Works. Just want to remind everybody, today is the day we start removing the Tabor Valley Bridge on Tabor Valley and Fall Road. So now the intersection of Tabor Valley Road and Fall Road will be closed through traffic during construction. Temporary roads have been installed at the intersection to provide access and movement around the construction area. Project's been allotted 70 days and expected to be completed by April 10th. Barring any bad weather. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next question, we have Sarah Watson at 9:45.
Anything's possible, right? 65 miles. Last year. And I feel like yes, yeah. I mean, I remember the pictures were good, but I remember thinking, oh, yeah. Now it's so never 6 times. Especially. You think that affects their donation? People are not going to use it. I feel worse, you know. That's not that bad. I mean, they do say there's not. Really good for you. Yeah, really, really good for you. Norway, that's really miserable. Sauna and cold and sauna goes not like it is, but I mean, it's literally the shock of the cold that like supposedly it opens up all your cells. Like she's shaking her head. Yeah. I don't know. I can't even keep my anger when it's faster.
Yeah.
It hurts for her. And she's supposed to be nice. You're like, yeah, I'm done. Yeah. And my daughter did that, and just sitting there. And they don't tell you. And I'm sure they're not lying. That after the first few minutes, it doesn't hurt. It's okay. But I've never been long enough to find out. Oh. Where did you go? She went to the Naval Academy, and it was actually the close experience for like all of us out that inside. So that's because the Naval Academy our first year or 2 years was my fifth one, and then they moved to the time. And just like within that same program, the amount of resources that the sports team were now required to have. I mean, you just have to be at that standard. Which is really cool. it was even something else. I like, not out that person. It's like, a professional feedback. You're like, you get the same stuff Brady's getting. I always think my daughter played mid-major team basketball. And just the experience alone gives you a different perspective. Yes. Some people, science. Yes. As a student athlete, struggling. Yes. My ethics, the research is the better available. That's true. But I mean, it's good. I guess. There's a lot of that. But well, obviously, I know it's like the stuff thing. Yeah, I mean, I think there are close on the scene. Yeah. And also they have a full-time job and a full-time. So I remember, I did my MBA and they how they worked out, but they must have saved a year or two back. Maybe or whatever, but they were playing.
Yes.
Their UT while we were doing an MBA, and we had a full-time, we were taking six MBAs, 6 master's level courses at a time, and a student athlete. And I mean, I had to pay things off, but they get on the buses until 2 or 3 in the morning, and the ones they were working, but they had to. And they got support and they got funding, but yeah, if they are like, work, even if they get nice, typically it's all sure, and one time, yeah, you do, yeah. I mean, it does make them, I feel like, well, that most
We did get information from IT and commission leaders and the areas.
Yeah, remember I sent you that email?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just need to finalize the discussion if you guys want to move forward with doing that and
Yeah.
start getting that arranged.
I believe that.
Yep, we can start
I
getting
can
it
find
arranged.
that email. I think it was 24 hours at a time. Doing them after service.
That sounds right, Catherine. I don't remember to say that you, but that sounds right.
What time are these? They're at 6.
Yeah, that's what he said, 6. Huh?
Those people are interested.
Sure. Small city is head, so.
That's not high for. You're free
It's like a dangerous run road.
to speak up in your presentation, Daryl.
Oh, no, I'm fine. Listen. Take note of these, I have questions.
It's a good note for everyone else when sitting by Elizabeth.
To take notes. How it's done. That was probably summer. Yeah, I got some. I love it. Eventually you're probably going to do that way and say, well, that's great. That's good. My kids swam in like Superior this summer. It was cool. It's cold enough up there in the West, but sure. They're mixed with
Okay, Tara?
Thanks for having me today. My name is Tara Carlson, and I'm the executive director for our local United Way. Our United Way does serve a 6-county area, but our office is located in Manhattan. And we really try to focus locally and build outwards to ensure that the community members' needs are being met. One of the things I wanted to start first with, thank you very much for the proclamation and the awareness for February to have and encourage the community to learn more about United Way specifically, but you learn more about our community needs. What are we doing to meet those needs? And if we're not meeting all of those needs, what kind of conversations can we have around those so that we can put some new programs for identified focused areas together and collectively. One of the things that makes me the most proud about being a representative of United Way is really United Way is our community. The giving and the investment back through our campaign is representative of community giving across the board. We're not a platform where you have to have mega wealth. It's inclusive to everybody, and we're most especially appreciative of all of the workplaces that post an opportunity for our employees to give through payroll deduction. Sometimes it's much easier to be what we would highlight as a pillar donor, $1,000 annual gift, if I can make that a little bit through each month through my payroll deduction and give back to the community. So it's a very unique platform, but it's an opportunity that really allows everybody to give in a way that's meaningful to them. A few things that I want to have you keep in the forefront of your mind as I kind of share some milestones and impact of the dollars that have come in, and maybe have a takeaway for everybody as I finish my opportunity to share. But as we think about our community and we think about United Way and we think about why United Way is, we have incredible resources in our social service community, but United Way thinks, again, community as a whole. It's not that we are only focused on our youth. It's not that we are only focused on mental health services. It's not that we are only focused on financial stability and training and that. We're looking at all of them collectively. And how do we work together? How do we identify the resources together? How do we avoid duplication of services wherever possible? And how do we meet our community members in crisis and identify programming and point them to programming and support that takes them from crisis to stable and from stable to thriving and not sliding back into crisis. That is where every conversation that myself and our board focuses on. Is there a partner in the community that would like to partner with us, that we would like to partner with? Do they fit in that model of conversation? And then last and not least, to do that and to meet those needs, we need more people to get involved and be a part of the workplace campaigns and giving to United Way so that we have the resources to give back and invest in our community collectively. So a few highlights that I'd like to leave you with regard to United Way is in the proclamation we shared, there was about $300,000 invested in programs specifically. Those are campaign dollars that came from our community members throughout the year in their giving platforms through direct gifts or through our workplace campaigns. In addition to that, and specifically for Riley County, through our partnership with Single Care, which is a prescription program, we saved our Riley County citizens $107,000 last year in prescription savings alone. The impact of that is that $107,000 went back into food, went back into resources, paying their utilities, paying their rent, that kind of thing. So that's a benefit and a strength that United Way brings to the community. We offer a 211 hotline. It's a resource hotline that anybody can call. If you don't know the resources that are available to you, and you don't know the name of a particular agency that can do that, where do you start and how do I go get that counseling or that support that I need? And 211 will identify the caller in the zip code that they live in and the specific need that they need help and resources to meet. And we guide them with a list of direct services that will meet that particular need. Last year, there were 190, almost 900 calls to our resource hotline. The highest needs that were met was utility assistance, rent payment assistance, food pantries, homeless shelter, domestic violence shelters, transportation, and health dental care insurance. There's also a list that is very representative of this, where the needs are not met. So not only can I share where we're meeting the needs, but in another conversation or one-on-one, if anyone is interested, I'm happy to share with you what are we identifying through our 211 hotline for the needs that aren't being met. And that really drives some of our conversation within our board and our structure. We participate in Furniture Amnesty Day in July, which allows individuals who are looking to have quality, safe furniture into their home, and those who don't need it no longer in their home can donate it, and that becomes a resource. We help with Stop the Bus in June, so that our children who qualify for free and reduced lunch have a full backpack. That way, when they walk in their first day of school, they look no different than any other child entering the school system, and they have their backpack and the supplies that are on their school supply list ready and ready for them. We also participate in Everybody Counts as a central hub and awareness to make sure that we can answer any questions that might be there at the time. Last year, through our partnerships, and one of the strengths that I also want to make sure that you as commissioners know and the community as a whole is there are some of our agencies that leverage specific United Way dollars and investments back into those local programs. Examples are the emergency shelter, the crisis center, Adabus, Kansas Legal Services. So my appeal is if we can generate more revenue through our United Way campaign, and we can invest more in, for example, those particular agencies, that's more money they are leveraging from the federal government back into our community to support those resources that are so vital and critical for our individuals in the community. Last year we had 17 nonprofit partners. This year we have 16. Again, they all focus on health, financial stability, education, and the basic needs that we should be providing for every citizen in the community. For 2024, we've actually increased and we have 3 new partner agencies. What that tells me is these agencies who are looking to do more and support more are needing additional resources. So we need to elevate who and what we are as United Way to make sure that we're meeting those needs for every community member throughout the county, not just in particular the city of Manhattan or any particular city overall. I also want to share that we started the Dolly Park Imagination Library. The census identifies there are 3,504 children, 5 or below in the county of Riley County. So far, since we started the program, we have served 1,218 of those children with receiving a free book delivered specifically to them so they can build that resource and begin that early literacy that we know leads to, statistically shows that we have higher success rates in our education system if we can come in with some of those reading skills early. So we're super proud and really proud to be the champion for the Dolly Park Imagination Library in our community. I'll leave you with just one more thought and really ask is, as again, in 2024, we have more agencies asking to partner with United Way to raise the conversation and make sure that we, again, are avoiding duplication of services where possible and really meeting the needs of our individual members. But when you think about United Way and you ask why give to United Way, it's because where else can a single gift that you make have such a wide community focus, such as providing quality after-school programming that has focus and outcomes measured to it. That same gift provides safe shelter for those who find themselves homeless or experiencing domestic violence and need a safe shelter to go to. Provide free legal services when you're having landlord disputes or you find yourself in need with housing or domestic situations and you need that legal counsel and you can't afford it, you go to Kansas Legal Services. mental health support, putting children first through our safety nets, with specific places for parents to transition and switch parental guidance in periods of time, and providing financial literacy and training. That single gift that you give through United Way has that impact and even more. So I really encourage the community through the month of February and beyond to really learn more about our United Way. We are a locally governed board, our dollars stay local. And last year, we were able to meet half of the needs that were asked of us. So we need to do more. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Sarah?
How is the Greater Manhattan Community Fund or whatever
Foundation.
Foundation?
Yes.
I can't remember what exactly the word was. Are they a competitor?
I don't think they're a competitor. I don't think they're a competitor. Community foundations were designed for those with wealth to create donor advised funds and direct their giving appropriately or as they wished at that point. So it's still a community focus. It's still an opportunity to identify community needs and raise awareness. United Way's platform is our focus is really only on those basic need areas. So we aren't going to get into the arts, which I know the Community Foundation has a big initiative and support for. We're going to stay focused and stay directed to driving community conversations around those particular areas. And through our workplace campaigns, the opportunity for everyone to be a part, no matter where your impact level and dollar amount equates to, comes together to make a difference in those particular needs.
I just didn't know if you felt that. Did you guys work together on things or?
We do. There's been opportunities to collaborate together and work together.
You got to think. To me, it's up from outside. They seem similar, but it's different.
Similar, but there very much is a specific difference. The other difference that I would say really highlights United Way is, again, it's the community giving at a way that's meaningful for them. Through our, I'm going to call it a grant process because it is what it is in those terms, but those agencies who are interested in and have programming that fits within those core areas that I've mentioned before, have the opportunity to identify that they would like to partner with United Way. What makes United Way different in that is our board of directors, and we have identified financial individuals, review the financials of that particular agency. We want to ensure that they're sustainable into the future. So we're not investing in something that doesn't have some long-term opportunity to make a difference in our community. And also they're good stewards of the funds that they have. Can they create and provide transparency in where they're spending their resources to make a difference in the community? And if they're not, we have the opportunity to have a dialogue about that. Then through that process, all of our donors, all of our individuals who want to learn more have the opportunity to join us on April 28th. And I will extend an invitation to you today. April 28th is our Community Investment Day. We invite donors and volunteers to be a part and listen to the needs of those particular agencies, where they are asking for resources and investment from the United Way dollars to make a difference in that. And those individuals in the room determine how and at what level we will invest in the programs available to us and those partners. So our donors, not myself, not my board, really determine how those dollars will be invested back into the community. So you are investing and making a difference with the dollars that you give. And that's a very unique model for us and our community.
Any other questions?
So thank you very much for having me.
Sarah. Next, commissioners, yes, it is time.
Yeah, it's
Almost time for Russell. In a few seconds.
Morning, commissioners. So to tag on to a little bit of what Tara was saying, Tara also serves as the co-ad there. Community Organizations Assisting in Disaster. So she serves as the chair of that. And so a couple of examples would be on your question about the United Way and the Greater Manhattan Community Foundation is the fire department here just a month ago. I don't know if you remember, I mentioned the fire department got a $10,000 grant donor directed through the Greater Manhattan Community Foundation to buy equipment. That's not something the United Way would do, but if we had a disaster and some people were out of their homes and couldn't afford housing or something, the United Way, there's one organization of a few that we would turn to maybe find assistance for those individuals. So with that, gives you a little bit of,
It's good to know.
not that I'm an expert on the Community Foundation or the United Way, but just from our department or two departments, that's two different ways those two different organizations work for us.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay. So Russell Stuckey, Fire Emergency Management, got my monthly staff time reports. We got a lot of the regular stuff. A few things I was going to highlight is obviously we're continuing to work, as you know, quite well on the floor plans and the specific on public safety headquarters. And so we have had several meetings and I know we will have several more, but I think progress is moving pretty well. On the fire side, we've had some leadership changes at the Riley and Leonardville station. And so we've been spending some extra time there with the new leadership. And as part of that, we did a volunteer recruitment table at the Riley County High School home basketball game last Tuesday night. And we're going to do another one this Friday night. Just set up a table with some flyers and a few people sitting there to say, hey, you could be a volunteer. We had a few that may be interested, but one's worth a lot. And so even if we have to get one or two out of it, it's worth the time and effort. We had our firefighter appreciation banquet and had over 100 attendees. So that was probably 30 or 40% more than we had last year. So that was good. One thing, been working with Elizabeth, and we did offer to the battalion chiefs to do an upward evaluation of myself and Chief Martins and Deputy Chief Martins and Deputy Chief Russell. And so I went over that, those with Elizabeth, and we're going to go over those the next couple of days and see mostly good reviews from the battalion chiefs. There's really room to improve. So go over some of those points with each of them and see what training opportunities are out there to maybe make them even better. And of course, as you all know, we had a big accomplishment the other day when we got the policies and procedures approved. So that was a heavy lift that had been worked on for a long time and will continue to be worked on, but definitely a nice milestone to highlight. I attended the Kansas Forest Service asked me to attend that event they had in Topeka at Billard Airport, and they have a lot of the aviation air assets that they have on contract to help fight wildfires, and they asked me to come to speak to any legislators or press that came for their show and tell. Unfortunately, it was really cold that day, and there was only a couple legislators that showed up, and I don't know if there was much press. So I got to touch and feel the planes that we call for and see flying around in the sky and talk to the aviators a little bit. And so that was interesting.
Any balloons part of that equation?
They did have a helicopter. They do have a helicopter, mostly fixed. And it's one gentleman who I think his profession is aerial application prop duster, but he's bought an older I can't remember the model plane, it's old military plane, and he's going to buy another one that's dedicated just to being in that fire tanker. Most of the other assets are like one company's Hyden Brothers, who has multiple rock dusting planes all across the state. And so they're on contract with the state. And then they also have a helicopter that could be used in unique situations, but that's all done in Kansas Forest Service and Caden. And so if we think we need that asset, we call and then they determine if it meets their criteria to put them in the air on what their availability is, what the wind conditions are, and whether they can do fire ops. We've started whenever a new dispatcher comes on to RCPD, we take them on a tour around the county and show them a lot of, I don't know about every fire station, but a lot of the fire stations, and kind of give them an idea of what they're dispatching to and what the little bit of the lay of the land is and how it changes throughout the county. So we took 3 different new dispatchers on a tour this week, or this month, last month, I should say. And then last month we started with RCPD active and Riley County EMS doing very, very basic active violence training with the fire department. And on if there was an event at a school or a church or well, public event, you know, out in the county, an idea of what our jobs and responsibilities would be. And so that's been interesting. And there's the North County version will be this Thursday night. We had South County last Thursday night, the second round, I should say. We've had 1 round already, and this is the second round of it. It's definitely not to the intensity or the detail that like MFD does with 383, USD 383, but baby steps. And as part of the SOG approval and policy approval, we're doing, you might say, get familiar sessions. We hosted one at Randolph already where the firefighters come in. We just put the SOGs up on the screen and start going through them and touch on them briefly. And if somebody has questions, they can ask. We're going to do several of us trying to get everybody familiar with them. And I think that's the majority of what I have. Of course, I gave you a run report from January. January tends to be one of our slower months, so we have had a few grass fires called in here this last week. So that time's coming. No burning today because of the extreme fire rain index and winds gusting in the 30s. Any questions for me?
Have you called in the planes?
Yeah, for the Blue River Hills Road fire, we did, and I think they came in one day when we were up on up by Baldwin Road and Carson. I think it's Carson Road. I think so. I think 2 different times since I've been here, we've had airplanes. Obviously it's all tax dollars, so it costs us, but there's not a bill to us if we have the Forest Service and Caden is who they contracted to. And so that's part of the fire has to meet a certain criteria,
Right,
for the commitments to it. They will send it out. Yeah,
that's small. And I realize we're as far as sort of small, but
right.
generally speaking, it's
Right.
something you guys can control.
Right, you know, that they're not gonna, and we're not gonna call them, but they're not gonna come out for a 10 or 20 acre fire. But if there's a fire and, you know, the wind's pushing it, and there's, especially if there's a significant amount of housing in danger, you know, if it was bearing down on, of course, Manhattan, or University Park, or Riley, or any, you know, significant amount of housing, that's one criteria that gets them in there a lot faster. Any other questions for me? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Russell. Next commissioner, you have Amanda Webb at 10:15, I believe will be by Zoom. Thanks, Russell. Thank you. Doing that.
Yep.
Yeah, speaking of those town halls, we should have them scheduled for Riley's first one. It's on 14. She said, you're not gonna
get much of a crowd that night.
you're not gonna. Oh, yeah. It's the second meeting. We're having right before the commission. That's it.
They scheduled one for Ogden and then already committed to the conservation district meeting, so it could be at two places, so.
Have you watched Tang's posting on press conference? That one had Saturday night, Saturday afternoon, had a different attitude.
Good, I was glad.
He was not his usually bubbly self.
I was glad that was starting to grind on me a little, some point in time, we got to try and light a fire under him.
Yeah, he was, like I said, I'll bet practice is just something one day, not smiles.
I just heard, the snippet coming in on Taman this morning said, we're going to dwell on this for 48 hours.
Yeah, he said, because he's always said it before. So nope, it's over. So the next one, this one's not good.
And I like how he said, our fans deserve better. They're back in the house is what the administration wanted to do. And the new coach said, we need to pack our house. People need to step up and come and watch the product we're putting on the floor. So they're doing that. So now they need to hold up their end of the deal.
The refs, he played out the refs. I mean, the refs were incredibly inconsistent.
That's the one thing, unfortunately, that has been consistent this year is the inconsistency on refs.
They called some things 2 consecutive times down the floor for us. Exact same thing. Somebody steps in front of somebody. First time it was charged, the second time it was a block. They were both exactly the same.
I've seen so many of those. The person,
and there was one ref there that
the person that's blocking has to be standing totally still. They can't be moving, and they blow that one all the time. And the other one, when you go up, to contest someone at the rim, even if you jump up, don't touch them, but just jump, you're going to get a foul call. And there's been so many times where review has shown didn't even touch them. Yeah, they did go up to try and change it, but they didn't touch them body or otherwise.
The one I was shit on TV. Was driving somebody else driving a basket. The guy jumped up and grabbed the rim.
I saw that.
It's technical.
I saw that.
And they didn't follow it.
Grab the rim and block the ball.
Yeah. And
it should have been technical and goaltending all at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tank was talking, mentioned it to the radio. He was saying, because he was pointing to the rim on the, and they were spinning. Like I said, there was one, I don't see it. It's ridiculous. I mean, he was not in shape to make it.
Another call.
There was one out of bounds call down in this corner. There's a ref standing right there. He called it our ball. This other guy was back almost at the court. He goes, no. Back this ball. And they overrode the other guy.
Another call.
It was right in front of the guy.
Another call they've gotten wrong. It's not just this year, but it's for a long time. Unless they've changed the rule book. The rule book always said if someone's hand is on the ball while they're dribbling, you can hit their hand. That's part of the ball. If it's on the ball, that's their, and that gets hit all the time.
Well, I wonder.
I'm here. Can y'all hear me okay?
Here we are.
Yes,
Okay.
can.
Perfect. Thank you. I think, is it my turn to go?
It
Yes.
is.
Okay, perfect. Amanda Webb, Riley County Planning Director. Good morning, Commissioners. So I am back again to talk about planning and development, the fee schedule for our department. I'm sure you folks remember talking about this last month, where I brought the entire fee schedule back for discussion. That proved to be a little bit too much for a short amount of time. So at your request, we're going to do kind of a piece at a time. So I have several meetings scheduled or time, on your agenda this month for each category. So, and please at any time, if you can't hear me or whatnot, please let me know. So what we have this morning is the planning and development fee schedule for licenses. So we're just going to do licenses this morning. We talked a little bit about some of these when I was here or when I was with you folks last month. So some of it might be a little bit of a repeat, but so we can kind of focus on the licenses. I'll kind of repeat some of what we said last month so we can make sure we're on the same page. So any questions or anything before I get started? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rich. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So to get started, I want to talk again about the excavation license. As you folks remember, I believe in late 2021, we had a new, of course, new short-term rental licensing. Agritourism licensing was relatively new, and neither of them had fees at that time. So we had a discussion, and again, late 2021, where it was decided and approved to have initial licenses for agritourism and short-term rentals be the 200, and then renewals would be 100. The processes are basically the same for when you do an initial versus a renewal. We still need material, we still need application, we still need to do an inspection. But of course, we kind of already have some of your information on file. We're kind of familiar with you already. So it makes sense to have a lesser renewal fee, as we're doing those. So excavation licensing, again, these are your borrow pits, your quarries, basically anytime you're moving a certain amount of dirt, not having to do with a construction project, that sort of thing. So it's kind of the same, even though it's a different type of license, it's the same process as a short-term rental and agritourism. We have a checklist that folks need to submit to us, a certain amount of documents, information that we then review. We do a site visit, we track, we issue licenses. All of it, again, though it's a different license, all of the process itself is the same as an agritourism and the same as a short-term rental license. Right now, we charge $150 for initial excavation licenses and $150 for renewals. And we also have the renewals submit everything to us again, even if nothing's changed. So as a kind of a side note, we're working to streamline that process as well to make it a little bit easier for folks so they don't have to give us everything that we basically already have on file. So we're kind of working on that. So we are looking at or proposing to do, again, similar to the other ones, 200 for the initial and then 100 for the renewal. So again, that would be a little bit more on the front end when people would do their first initial excavation license, but then it would be less as they renew annually each year. And again, I'm just looking at consistency when the process is fairly similar. It makes sense that those fees are consistent as well. So that's kind of the first one to talk about. I don't know if any of you have comments or questions or thoughts on that before we move along.
No question.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm trying to look at the little box with you guys too. So our next one is mobile home park licensing. And I know, again, we talked a little bit about this one. We didn't get too far last time we were talking about this one. And I know I just mentioned I like to be consistent, with reviews and with fees and whatnot, but the mobile home park licensing is a little bit of a different situation. So I don't think it's right to just have, the standard fees for each kind of park and each kind of license be exactly the same, because it just doesn't quite work the same. So so we have 6 permitted mobile home parks within the county. Most are smaller. Our smaller one has 5 lots, and we have one that's just over 160. Again, most of them are in the, I believe, 5 to 16 unit range, somewhere in there. So they're pretty small. We really only have the one that's fairly sizable. We do take in the material, we review the material that is submitted as per our checklist. We do a site inspection of the entire facility, the entire mobile home park, as well as each lot, as well as each unit. So there's actually a lot of site inspection, a lot of work that goes on actually out in the field to make sure that the park itself, as well as each unit and each lot, is meeting the requirements of the code. Right now, we charge a fee of $5 per lot with a maximum of 300, and that's for both initial and renewal licenses. That means, of course, our parks that are only about 5 lots in size, that's only $25 for all of the work that we have to do. Again, all the inspections, all the tracking, all the licensing, everything that we have to do, it's only $25. Now, I'm certainly not wanting to say, we should be charging hundreds and hundreds, or that the fees should be the same for the smaller ones versus the larger ones. We'll talk about that in a second. But I do think $25 is probably not quite enough to cover a lot of what we're having to do to make sure these mobile home parks are in compliance and each unit is in compliance. So. And again, both the planning compliance specialist, he's got a part in it, and our environmental health specialist has a part in it as well. So it's 2 staff members having to do their own reviews. Mostly just the planning compliance specialist does the on-site inspections. Sometimes environmental health has to go out there as well, but the on-site inspections are generally just Darren for those. And so this is one, I definitely, not that I wouldn't want input on all of these, but this is one that we're kind of, thinking about, looking at what might be a good way to address fees for mobile home parks, considering that there's more work involved than really what the costs we're getting back, or the revenue we're getting from it, but also that most of them are small. One we have that's large. So I really don't want to do where it's just a set fee for everybody, because I wouldn't want to charge a 5 lot the same as 160 lot, because it's not, just doesn't work in my opinion. So so something we're looking at or thinking about is again, an initial license fee, maybe somewhere between 100 to 200 plus $5 per unit over 50 lots. So basically 51 or more, each lot would have an additional $5 per lot, or per unit, we need to say, assigned to it. So that would, of course, keep our existing smaller ones, they would just have that standard 100 to 200, whichever that would be. They wouldn't have to worry about the excuse me, additional $5 per lot. So, and then the renewal being something similar. So of course, the idea would be that the renewal would be a little bit less. So based on what the initial would be, the renewal could be somewhere between 75 to 100, plus that $5 per unit over 50 lots. At this point, of course, I did mention the 6. We have 6 current ones, so there's nothing that at this point, none of the 6 would be impacted by the initial. They're just renewing every year. So for whatever that information is worth. So that's kind of what we're thinking about. Again, I've talked to Darren about it, just again with the different work that he does going into each of these. And this is, again, kind of what we're thinking about, what we're looking at, that might be an option. And if you folks have any direction or input or thoughts, I would be happy to hear it.
Amanda, I have a question, pretty basic. Now, when you inspect the lots, is that just the ground, or do you inspect inside of the units to make sure they're livable?
Yes, yes, we do both inside and outside because there are things that need to be on the inside, smoke detectors, things like that. And yes, we do need to go in and make sure that the units are actually habitable. Any other thoughts or questions on mobile home parks?
Any other questions?
No.
No others. Thank you.
Thank you. So then the next licenses to talk about are a little bit different. So the 4 we just talked about are land use licensing basically. And the next few that I have listed there and that we'll talk about are sanitary code licenses. So of course, these have to do with your septic, your wastewater systems, that sort of thing. So it's going to be a little bit different than the licenses we just talked about. So as you see on the list there, what we currently have septic hauler licensing, standard system installer, and alternative system installer for initial and renewal. Septic hauler is just that. Those are the folks that come out and pump your tank, haul your material away, that kind of thing. We do have to license them within the county. We have our fees there. I'm not proposing to change those. Those are working just fine for us. So again, standard systems, again, those are just that, your regular standard system that folks do. And then alternative systems tend to be a little bit more advanced, a little bit more involved, little bit more components to them. So right now what we do for installer licensing, again, they have to be licensed in our county. And it's a training that we do. Perry will basically do a little class, if you will, a few hours of a class where he just presents some materials to them, kind of trains them, and then they take a test that he administers and reviews. And then he needs to observe their first install. So if that's a standard system, that's what he goes and does. If it's an alternative system, that's what he goes and does. So that's the same process for both, whether it's a standard or an alternative. And right now we just have a fee for installer. The initial is 150 and the renewal is 50. And that includes whether you're going to do a standard system or an alternative system. You have to be standard installed, licensed if you're going to be alternative licensed as well. But some people just do the standard, some people do both. So in essence, we're charging one fee for what could essentially be 2 pieces. Perry has to do the same exact process for alternative system installers. He's got to do the training, he's got to administer the test. And because alternative systems are that much more complex, that first observation in the field takes a lot longer than your standard system tends to. So he's still spending time doing all of that, but we're really not charging people technically for that. So I'm not proposing to change the installer initial fee of 150 and renewal of 50, but what I am proposing to do is do an additional, if somebody wants to be licensed for alternative systems, that would be, because it's a whole separate process, that would be its own application and its own fee, again, of the 150 with a renewal of 50. And that's, again, really because the processes are the same. The time is the same that he puts into it. So that's kind of the thinking behind that we would parcel those out. One would be the standard, the other would be the alternative, and whoever wants to do both can do both, and who just wants the standard can stay in the standard. So that's kind of what we're looking at for that part of it. Any question? I know I'm talking fast, so any questions or comments or thoughts on any of that?
That makes sense. I said it makes sense. So.
Makes sense.
No question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so that's pretty much all the license fees I wanted to talk with you folks about. Like I said, I'll bring other categories back over the next, several meetings. So what I have here, and again, nothing is set in stone. This is just kind of what I'm proposing, what I'm kind of thinking, getting your input. At the end, after we've made it through everything, I'll bring everything back, kind of what we talked about. We can, make sure we're all comfortable with it before we, do any formal approvals or whatnot. But so so again, if nobody has any, I guess, initial input or thoughts, especially on the mobile home park, because that one can really kind of go a few different ways if we wanted to. The other ones I think are a little bit more straightforward, but the mobile home park is a little bit, can go a few different ways. So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts or initial input on that, or if you want to think about it and we can talk about it again.
I don't have any problems with it. It looks like you adjust it as needed, because like I say, there's 5 versus what you say 160. There is a difference there.
Right. Yeah, the majority of them that we have, of course, are, again, I believe there's a couple that are 5, there's one that's 8, and up to maybe 16, and then there's just the one kind of anomaly that's 162. So that's it's not normal that we necessarily have all of something that large, but so yeah, it definitely makes sense to do those a little different. Okay, well, if
Yeah, it looks good to me. Looks good to me. I don't have any additional questions at this time. John? Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. So again, what I'll do, I believe our next fee schedule discussion is next Monday. I think we're going to talk land use fees. And then I'll bring the other ones back throughout the month, and then put it all together, and we'll talk about it again, make sure you folks are comfortable before we do anything formal. So I appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.
Clancy Holman at 10:45. Big plans on this nice day in the afternoon? Ah, you're gonna be doing that? Lucky you.
Build the wall, had to build a wall. We tore out most of the wall to make two rooms into one bigger.
Uh-huh.
What I mean, put a wall across the back, put in a half bath.
Uh-huh.
Sheet rock there.
So you're the drywall huh?
First, except for the ceiling. I've got this. I can find something because it's under the bathroom upstairs, so it's not putting sheetrock to the joist, to the
Right.
floor joist. It's the hang.
Soft it down,
Hang
allow for the
system.
plumbing.
Yeah, hang system.
Yeah.
But I know there's a couple different ways to do it, but I've never done one of them.
Yeah.
It's not a very big room.
That is
Got
the
a
biggest
couple of
pain.
People to try to figure out what to do there.
That's my least favorite part of doing that, but have done it many times.
And they don't, I mean, I could frame it all down, but then it's gonna make the ceiling too low. Now you get this heavier duty of this grid to hang and then your sheet rock to it, so it doesn't take up so much room. Back, I've not done that before. I'm not.
Yeah.
There's guys that know how to do that. I've got a question for you over here.
Sure.
Good heavens. I just got up and I sat back down and went right down here.
Yeah, suddenly you disappeared.
Yeah. Usually they stay where they
Mhm.
put them.
Latch must not have engaged or whatever. Whatever the piece is that holds it in place. It's good to know that sometimes it'll just give way.
I'm not that heavy, so.
You suddenly vanish during a meeting, we'll know what happened.
Boom.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't want to hear that. I think she was back. My dog walker's walking my dog. I thought she was out of town. Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for calling on the Paylocity thing.
Thanks for getting me back.
I was so focused on getting the other ones right, got about more.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have had like a regular list of offenders and they're getting a little better.
Proud to be on it.
Yeah. It's tough. I'm already getting my time before my shoots. No, it shouldn't be, but it's just not a regular.
I'm glad your group double checks.
Well, it's just all about, just consistently processing, closing it out with everybody kind of wrapped up in there together so that I have to go back and yes.
Soon.
Hey. Did you bring your
Bring my what?
the last thing that you sent with 5 years? You know who's got about the number?
On paper, no.
Good stuff.
Way to go.
Well, I'm sorry. You can always,
Yeah.
I went back in that range show this.
Let's see. Well, we're fine. We're ready now for you.
Morning, Commissioners. Clancy Holmgren, Councilor. This car may look relatively familiar. It does have a new date on it, and it has some new numbers. Specifically relating to the amount necessary to fund the request, and to make sure those outcomes apply and what would actually be involved. I will just kind of go back over very quickly some of what I mentioned last time. The point here is that the current deputy county councilor is going to retire. The only part of this car that makes me a little nauseous is it says tentative retirement date. So I'm going to hold him to this somehow. No earlier than September 30th, 2023. But the key is it really breaks down into two things. The reason we're asking for this training period, the first paragraph is for those things relating to training, education, experience. And those are the things you would expect to see in something like this. They're all important. All of them matter. Has a little bit at the end about some things regarding the organization. But the second one kind of zeroes in on what really matters in this position and a lot of positions in terms of success of whoever manages to obtain the position. And that is, are they going to work within the framework that currently exists within the culture of this organization? That's important because there are some unique things about it that are not present, quite frankly, in other counties. I mean, you've heard that over the years any number of times. For one thing, county government is, and it's representing county government is very different from representing city government, for example, because county government has a number of elected officials, not just the governing body, but independent elected officials for their own constituencies. And there are legal issues and ethical issues that arise as a result for any attorney who's representing the organization. There are also, quite frankly, in private practice, representing an organization is very different from representing an individual. You have the same duty as an attorney to provide zealous representation within the bounds of the Kansas Code of Professional Responsibility. Kansas Code of Professional Responsibility. I always get the acronym wrong. But the disciplinary administrator, the person who can suspend or disbar an attorney based on complaints. And that rarely comes up. It rarely comes up, but there is that ethical code that underlies the responsibility, the disciplinary code. Every attorney is responsible for it. And there are a number of things about representing the interests of an organization within that disciplinary code that are very different. They just are. And that the attorney that's selected for those positions has to be willing to deal with those differences. And they're not insurmountable. But it does make the job a little bit different. And it's the reason why we've got, quite frankly, those two things together. The talent necessary for this job, the experience you want to bring into this position, going to require some training. Make sure somebody understands what they're getting into after they're selected, after the best possible candidate's selected, and make sure they're comfortable and make sure we're comfortable that we've done enough on our side to train them for the position. So that when the incumbent does leave, and I love saying incumbent, when the incumbent does leave, that there will be as much as possible a seamless transition. The deputy's position I rely on very heavily because of that unique skill set that is described in there and the duties that are going to be expected of this person. That's why we're asking for that training period. I did notice under discussion, I once again missed the fact that he talks about in the second paragraph, the period of no less than 6 months. It's really no less than 5 months, given the start date. If we had to do it over again, I think we would tweak it and say no more than 6 months. But really, the 5 months is what we're asking for in terms of the training period, and then the information in there details how that would be funded. One of the important things to know here is that in talking with Elizabeth about that, I understand that our department may be asked to step up with some kind of funding commitment at the end, depending on what's necessary. That's not because of anything related to our budget creation. It's related to the fact of what needs to be in place to fund any position's benefits. And if you have questions about that, thankfully she's here to describe why that is. I'd be glad to answer any questions about the merits of this. If you get into the financial side of it, I'm going to probably, I can guarantee I'm going to defer to HR. But I'd be glad to answer any questions you have about the request related to those things.
Any questions? Because we talked about this last week.
All sounds reasonable.
Okay, Elizabeth, would you like to speak to the financial part of it?
Yeah, and obviously Daryl's here as well, so if you'd like any clarification. So Elizabeth Ward, Human Resource Manager. When we spoke last week, one of the commissioners asked, is there any money in the budget that could be used to this? And so this position or this training is not budgeted. However, we did look back historically, and there has been some funds that have been budgeted for mostly benefits. It's the way that our philosophy for budgeting for benefits. We budget so that if any person would take the most expensive benefit plan, we would be able to cover it. So looking back historically over the last 5 years, there has been an amount of fund that has then stayed in the general fund or gone back to the general fund because of that. So Daryl, Rich, and I have all looked at it, and we believe that there would be a $15,000 to $20,000 amount of money there. And so what we're asking, and potentially more, honestly, it's just hard to know if there. I know we had a couple changes in. At least one change in benefit. It's a very small department, but at least one change in benefit last year. So what we're asking is that this would be the total cost that training and onboarding would cost. And so if at the end of the year, whatever amount less up to that $72,000 is short, that's the request from the general fund. And so Clancy has made the commitment. Obviously, he doesn't use the benefit portion that's budgeted for anything else. It doesn't go anywhere else. But if there's money in that, we will apply that first to the personnel need and then make the transfer from the general fund. So that's the offshoot request.
So the remainder of that you will add into your next year's budget then in 2024, or how is that going to work?
No, ma'am. So he's asking for that money for an additional monies for this year's 2023 budget. And so because Fred will be retiring this year at the end of September. And so this is not something we've budgeted for. We don't have enough funds in the budget to cover it. We know the expense, the maximum expense will be that 72, but it's at 741. 41. And that all is dependent. If we get the person hired, if they're able to come on for 5 full months, that's our desire. And we have a good reason to believe that we can recruit in that time frame. With Daryl looking at the numbers as well, double check my numbers, which is good to do, right? I do think that there will be some funds there from the personnel budget, but it will not. There's no reason to think it would be the full 72,000.
It would be the 72 less the 15,000 to 20,000, and
whatever is in there that will be applied. So if it's there has been years where it was up as high as 40,000, Yeah, so there has been years in the last 5 years it was that high. This last year was 15,000. So I don't want to overcommit or have you under some false pretense, but there is reason to believe we will have money left in the personnel budget side.
Last year was unusual because you had that 10.5% increase in the middle of the year,
Which used up some of it.
used up quite a bit. Yeah. Around 40,000.
Right. But also we did have one change in the benefit package, which they only have 4 people. So one change is, makes a difference. And we don't know what the new person, what type of benefits that new person will, enroll into either. So I'm not saying there isn't or won't be, but I don't want you to have a false impression that we would definitely have $40,000.
Any question? Okay.
Daryl or Elizabeth, that 15 to 44, is that just unspent funds in the personnel section, or is that the overall budget section?
Just unspent funds in personnel.
Yes. What has been the unspent fund? Do we know what has been the unspent funds in the entire budget? I mean, we know. Do you have those figured out?
I don't have that entire thing, but it's actually more than that in the entire budget. Usually it comes in under budget on even the 3C line items when I was looking through it. But I was looking strictly at personnel in this particular case. And in this particular case, most of it has to deal with healthcare. Probably 75% of it at least is healthcare they aren't using. But it's one of those you have to budget for because that comes in fact after you're done budgeting.
Right.
So you have to plan for it just in case,
And then Clancy and I spoke about, again, having a new person. You don't know for sure, if there's going to be whatever else expenses that they might have to have in place. So it's tough to estimate.
I think what's unique about this, commissioners, is I don't know, Elizabeth may know, although I know that you've been here long enough to know, maybe you've looked back. Commission has approved this type of funding for department head levels. When they are leaving early, appointed department head levels, to get someone cut up to speed. I don't know where it's been done for someone other than department head levels. Now, this one I'm fully supportive of because I know Clancy's leaving a short time period after that. So that to me makes it critical and, fully support what Clancy's requesting. I think the other thing commissioners are aware of, there's at least one other department that's going to ask for additional funds for, if not an additional person, but contracted personnel. And so it's kind of like I recently went through this with elections and the pandemic, got told commissioners and commissioners approved. I need to go out and hire temporaries. I can't tell you how much, but it's going to take a lot because pandemic, we're going to have a lot of extra work. I'm going to try and live within my budget. The commissioners did not authorize any additional funds transferred in the budget. I said, I'll try and live within it, but if not, be aware I may have to come back with funding. So, part of our discussion has been is because I have seen those numbers the last 3 years on the overall, we have it in the audit, the annual audit for the counselors, just like we do for all departments. There has been approximately enough money to cover it. So the commission needs to decide, do you want to do the transfer at the beginning, the full amount of transfer of 71 here? And again, I'm big on consistency. So if you treat this one this way, then the next request that comes before you, you probably want to treat the same way. Or do you want to say, try and live within your allocated budget, but we'll have it on Elizabeth's and Daryl's radar that if it looks like they're going to go over, then we'll transfer over the money that's needed.
Yeah.
It's a lot of numbers, it's financial.
I know you talk about consistency, but again, this is a unique position.
That's what I said.
You got two people who've been there a long time, one's leaving and another one's following right along with you. They overlap.
That's why I said I supported it.
Yeah.
In an extremely small department to begin with, right?
Right.
And we're not talking about, we have 5, 6, 7 of them, we have 2.
Yeah. I'm
And
just saying consistent. I don't say we have to say we have to do this for every deputy.
No.
No, that's what I was talking about the financial part is what I was talking about, the financial part, because you're going to have it coming before you get here shortly.
I would think we would transfer it as needed.
That's my thought.
Yes, way,
My
not
thought
all
as
at
well.
once, but
Yeah.
see what's actually needed.
we track it monthly. That's not, I mean, that's not even an extra step. That's fine. We just want to be able to confidently recruit and place the person, we don't want to say, well, maybe we can keep it for the full-time period, right?
Now, on that discussion, the second paragraph, you have the 6 months rather than 5 months.
It's 5.
It is 5 months, and that's what the number is. The number is there for 8 months. We would have liked to have a 6-month crossover. So we were originally saying, up to 6 months, but this is the time frame.
That was the initial discussion, was 6 months.
Yeah.
As we took time to put the thing together, then I missed that, quite
You missed
frankly.
it, okay.
Timeline just didn't work.
No,
It does, the time, once you put it on the calendar, it doesn't work.
no, even I can add those months up, and that's not 6.
I know. Yeah, so it will, the numbers that are on there are for this new person to be employed for 8 months, which would account for 5 months overlap. Okay.
Well, I don't have a problem with that. I think that we should do that. But do we have a discussion?
That's my thought too. I think like you said, let's wait and just see this at the end of the year where the numbers are coming in. So I say it depends on who the employee is and where their salary is. You're guessing they're going to be in this range. You've got a range, and you were saying over, maybe up or down from that. Even.
Yeah. Yeah, and we do require significant experience and related experience, as Nancy talked about the differences in nuances of the legal professions. Yeah.
We need a motion or just
Yeah.
consensus to.
You do on the, all that was in the motion was regarding the position. There was nothing in there
Oh, the
regarding the
position.
fund. I was putting it here because all of you said by consensus, you agreed to fund to cover the additional cost if necessary at the end of the year.
Okay.
Is that agreeable, Clancy?
Oh, absolutely. No, we just wanted to be as upfront as possible, and also to just be fair. So,
Right. But our request is to open the position. So we would
Absolutely.
like it.
About that, I will make a motion on. I know.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay. So I'll go ahead and make a motion that the Board of County Commissioners approve the requisition to open the deputy county counselor's position and follow the timeline outlined above.
And I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve that the Board of County Commissioners approve the requisition to open the deputy county counselor position following the timeline as outlined. All in favor? Aye.
All three sign, please.
thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much.
And thank you for your work on this.
Clancy, I have a question, Greg.
Sure.
Advertising.
I know.
Something on listserv or something for all the county counts.
Very active listserv.
And you can put it on there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Elizabeth and I talked about this. We've got a really broad and I think deep pool to draw from.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's not one of those, that's not the part of this that makes me anxious. It's just the idea of being betrayed by Craig and going on with his life.
That's me, ain't you leaving so soon out?
Yeah, that'll be easy.
What makes me?
Craig leaving is a real problem.
Easy for you.
No, I agree. You lose a lot of county knowledge with Craig as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he had county knowledge prior to coming here.
Yeah. He had served as a county council for about 15 or 20 years before he got out here on a contract basis.
He set the standard high, so. Big
It all goes back to blaming Craig. I'm comfortable.
Oh.
17 years and it's a betrayal.
Yes,
Wow.
I think so. If he's not any more loyal than that, I don't know what to say.
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Thanks, Daryl.
You're lucky. Check Craig's suit, the tire tracks today.
I can argue there are a few based on what I see.
Okay, this looks like the end of the agenda. I do have something to ask you about. We had several weeks ago talked about that I would like to have meetings in the county, Ogden, Riley, Hunterville, and Randolph. We did get back an estimate. And I'd like to get these on the schedule as soon as we can, but the question is, do we want to spend the extra overtime to have 24 hours of overtime overall, which would be 6 hours per location, to have it after 6, or do we want to have, try to do something in a regular scheduled meeting? So that's the question that I have. 24 hours, I don't know how much that equates to, but if we think more people would come after 6, that's fine, or if you think, or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's gonna come in the morning. I just don't. But I'll do whatever.
What do you think about?
Yeah, I mean, if we're trying to do it to reach out, then if we have an evening, there's a better chance that people are going to show up.
So I would say we need to go on and do that, which is fine with me. We probably all need to check our schedules for the next, evening meetings that we have, and then we need to coordinate and when we can do it. And I'd like to have a quarterly, which will probably start probably next month.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I haven't looked at mine. I'm going to look at a Monday or a Thursday. And it'd be good to be consistent, I think. Whether it's first week, second week, third week, whatever.
Yeah.
Because we're looking at the whole year, so that's
Well, I'm just looking at the regular.
regular
One of
meetings.
those.
First week of the month is
Monday.
usually, okay.
Riley's always the city council's always Tuesdays. And also Wednesdays. No, but. Tuesday.
So Thursday would probably be the safest
Yeah.
way to go. The first week in every month is always great. I usually have meetings in the evenings on first week. But
What is it, the third Thursday? We usually have the city county meeting at 4. So I can take consideration to it.
we have, that's a church.
No.
Oh, that's an evening, yeah.
There.
We talked earlier and thought Thursdays would work better because you don't have to have press conference attendees come out on a Monday. Yeah, that's one thing. I mean, like today, you would have been asking Jared Clausen to go out there
Yeah.
if you had them in the evening. So that's something to
So
keep in
that
mind as
schedule
well.
works, that schedule works better as far as the.
I would think.
schedule.
I would think Thursdays would be better.
So why don't you all, the two of you and myself, we'll look at our Thursday schedules going forward.
I don't think. So.
We don't.
No.
You don't have things going, and we couldn't do it.
I know I don't have any problem.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to look, I don't think I have any.
When commissioners just want us to start trying to make the schedule quarterly with the cities on Thursdays, it'll work with them on approximately a quarterly basis. Because you have to remember, although those facilities, some of them aren't used widely, they may have things scheduled as well, so.
Yeah. What else?
Yeah. And we didn't get Corey didn't check, he had Leonardville Fire Station, but I don't know if he's looked at Leonardville Community Center.
Community center should be fine.
That should be
Should
better.
be fine. Should be.
Wednesday, we're going around each location testing.
Yeah.
This week.
You'll know for sure, okay. So you want to discuss it again on Thursday or next Monday?
I don't know that we need to. We can
Unless they find that there's a problem somewhere.
Yeah.
Start talking to the cities.
Excuse me, Derek.
So
Ogden's gonna be your main concern.
The fire station. Good, if they have for internet, for sure.
What about the community center?
On Thursday nights, they have children.
Yeah.
I'm doing kids.
Yeah.
They are not.
Oh, that's right. they have
Gotcha,
that
gotcha.
email on Thursdays.
Yeah.
We could maybe do Ogden if you wanted to community center on Wednesday, that would be different. It's not consistent.
Whatever the board wants to do, we'll set out.
There's also, if they've got whatever, they've already got activities on Thursday night, there can be. Even if it's a different location.
It's a really nice facility and pretty easy to set up for this type of meeting.
Yeah, I'd probably be okay on Monday.
And they always provided donuts over there, so that's gonna be my biggest displeasure. We're not gonna get donuts in the meeting anymore.
Okay.
I agree.
So probably Ogden Community Center, we need to check the schedule with them and maybe do it on a Monday instead of Thursday.
Yeah.
The other one's on Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm just not so sure how well a fire station is designed to hold this type of a meeting, you know?
Yeah.
At the consensus of the board, for staff start looking into getting those scheduled quarterly with the small cities in no particular order, just whatever works best for their respective schedules.
Yeah.
And approximately quarterly is when you want them.
Yes. But maybe, let's say, Holy Week is. Easter is March or April 9th is Easter, so Thursday, the April 6th. Probably not do it. That one would have to probably Monday the 3rd. Or not,
Thursday.
or skip it. So, consensus down at 6 o'clock. Right. So we're looking at 6 o'clock. That work, okay, we can get the final version.
We'll work on it. It'll take some time.
Yeah. You just, I'll send you a row, let me know what's coming.
We'll let the entire board know. Yeah. let you fire.
That's all I know. Anything else?
I don't have anything. I'll try and write this down best and look over how I get the consensus. I think I've got everything fine now.
Did you have something else, Rich, or no?
No,
Oh, okay, sorry.
I'm just trying to get all this down where it'll make sense to all of us. So you can go ahead and adjourn. I can sit here and type all day.
Okay. Yeah, okay, well, with that said, then I'll go ahead and make a motion to adjourn the February 6th meeting of the Riley County Commission.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to